Okay, so for this week's episode, we are talking about Fuji Q Highland on our Pop Spotlight for the week. As many of you might know, Fuji Q is a very well known theme park or amusement park, more like a amusement park with plenty of rides in quite close to Tokyo actually. But what makes this park is definitely the fantastic setting of Fuji Mountain itself, right?
So, Nihon ni yokoso. Welcome to Japan, everyone.
Yeah, for sure. And in terms of transport wise, it's really quite accessible. No matter if you are visiting from the Tokyo region or elsewhere, but it is especially close to like nearby touristy areas. So you could reach park by JR, and it is pretty good package, I think, that usually contains the 1 day pass, and also it includes the JR ticket, which could range between 7,700 yen, equates to around £50 or 70 US dollars, to around 12,000 yen, so equates to £80 or 109 US dollars.
Don't forget the buses.
Oh yeah, there's bus available, obviously, to the Fuji Q Highland station. And I think no matter if you take bus or railway, it is quite accessible because the bus or railways simply stops directly in front of the entrance for Fuji Q Highland, which is fantastic, obviously, for international tourists that might not understand Japanese to the fullest extent. And what's not better to have a backdrop with those amazing four standard coasters. So obviously for me the top coasters would be Ijanaika, the SNS 40 coaster, as we discussed earlier in this episode on the quiz, which is one of the rare 40 coasters not many places have, and obviously is kind of like the legacy of Arashaki that like pass on to like this design, and it looks absolutely terrifying. Have you seen videos of it running? It just spins like crazy. It's so amazing when you look at it. It's also dropping from like hyper height.
Yeah, so make sure, guys, do not eat anything before you go on. Do it after. Trust me.
Yeah, it looks absolutely amazing. I think didn't you say that you seen in Jamaica and the red and yellow form? So it used, for you guys that didn't know quite about the history, it used to be red and yellow with the old color scheme.
Yeah, I remember that as I went to this park around 12 years ago, I think.
Oh wow, you must be quite a wee kid back then.
And today, everything has changed, so I might not recognize. Although
Yeah,
I think the shape is the same. Well, they just rethemed and recolored it, but in general, that should be the same thing still.
yeah, I don't think they have retract anything. So, but I personally prefer the new color scheme with the black and silver sleek color scheme. I just think that that looks better than red and yellow. The red and yellow color scheme sort of reminds me of McDonald's, to be honest.
What?
Yeah, I mean, it's like hair racer coaster in Ocean Park. But anyways, we're not talking about that. So you definitely have that one as the standout attraction. But otherwise, you also have Doda Dompa, which is, I think, arguably probably the second best coaster in park. Although it's like a one-trick pony, as some might call it. But the air launch is amazing. Just like how fast the acceleration it is. I didn't know that they could make like a launch faster than it used to be. So they actually boosted up the acceleration 0 to 172 kilometers per hour, or 0 to 107 miles per hour in 1.8 seconds. But now it's 0 to 180 kilometers per hour, or 0 to 112 miles per hour in 1.6 seconds. Just imagine that. I didn't know that it could be any more faster. I think even compared to like race cars, that's quite a faster rate acceleration. Wouldn't you say that?
Yeah, so for most common supercars, it's classified with the standard of 3 seconds from 0 to 100 km or 0 to 62 miles per hour. So that's the benchmark. And then for any sort of, I guess, hypercar, there's not really a box standard for that, but I would say anything within 2.5 seconds for, again, 0 to 100 or 0 to 62. So there will be something like a Bugatti or a Koenigsegg.
Yeah, from what I heard from like the experience, it's just amazing. Apparently, it feels like someone said that like the experience feels like a car crash from like behind. I don't know necessarily it's like in a good way, but apparently it's just amazing. Like people always said that this is one of the most incredible experience they have ever experienced, and in no sort of doubts that I think this is false. But it's such a shame that they don't have the top hat anymore, so they do not have the top hat, but instead they added in the world largest vertical loop, I think. So you cannot experience airtime anymore, which is a bit of a bummer, I think. But at least you get good hang time over the top of the loop, which is pretty cool.
Yeah. Well, actually, we also have airtime for buses if you're having a bumpy bus ride.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, in terms of if I get, you often need to get the back row on the bus, although it might be a bit rough, but you get some good airtime sometimes if there's like good potholes there.
Yeah, like a couple dollars, good fun.
Yeah, for
And
sure.
and that will get you to anywhere you like. Oh, okay, enough of that.
But it's honestly, I don't get. I think the worst decision is that they actually decided to take down the top hat. I can show you the old top hat.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah, so that was before they added the vertical loop. So apparently the transition, that part they removed, is a bit rougher. So you could feel the segments really roughen up when the new Dodonpa actually travels up the loop. So it actually used to be called Dodonpa before this, but they changed the name because they changed part of the layout with the top hat to a loop. So that's what I was referring to when I talked about airtime.
Ah, I see.
But also, obviously, they have this weird Togo hypercoaster called Fujiyama, which has been there for quite a few years. But I've heard mixed reviews about whether it's a good coaster or not because of the restraints. Apparently, it's not very comfortable, and as we all know, Togo are not the best Japanese. Like even Japanese Togos do not have the best restraint systems. But it looks in the come very soon. I think summer this year they are also opening the Fujiyama Tower, which is pretty cool. So that would be a tower with a sightseeing platform and slides and things like that. So on like the turn and run on Fujiyama. So that would be pretty cool. Apparently, it's free to enter too. So that would provide some good views towards the real Fujisan.
Yeah, that's definitely a great feature when we have that new balcony around there and get the view of the majestic Fujisan or Fuji Mountain. Definitely.
Yeah, for sure. Especially, can you imagine, like when the train is running past it, and then at the same time you could see the mountain behind it? That would just make a excellent shot. Like I just couldn't imagine that.
Yeah, the wow factor is definitely wow.
Yeah, but just hopefully it wouldn't affect the operation or structurally and things like that, because obviously there's another coaster with like add-on structures nearby called King the Car, one of the original Strata coasters. So the Strata coaster, they actually added drop tower on the structure itself, but because of the law, they can't run two rides together. That's a bit of a trouble. So I just hope that the Japanese regulation doesn't have things like that. Like you're only allowed to open the structure with like limited amount of people and things like that. But hopefully that wouldn't be the case.
And don't forget that in Fuji Q Highland, we also have Thomasland, which was my focus when I went there around 12 years ago. I was a kid back at the time. So definitely I'll be more interested in that rather than the coasters, because I think I won't be able to get on any of them.
Do you mean like you don't want to get off any of them, or are you just do you think that the operations are so poor that you can't get on everything on the same day?
Well, I think height might be the issue, and the age as well, maybe. I was 8 at the time.
Oh, you mean back then that you weren't able to get on any of those rides, right?
Yeah.
That makes sense. Yeah. I thought I just thought like you're saying that if you return you might still go just to Thomas Land for everything.
Well, I'll definitely go and visit Thomas Land again, but this time, well, definitely as an adult, I'll be able to go on any of those rides.
Yeah, for sure. But before we move on to Thomas Land, there's one last roller coaster I guess I want to talk about. That's obviously Takabisha, the Kurosawa Eurofighter, which is once the steepest roller coasters. But it literally got just beaten by another coaster with basically the same layout, a clone, TMNT Shell Racer at American Dream. So I think it's just beaten by half a degree, which I think it wouldn't really make that much of difference, to be honest. But hey, you definitely got to ride that, because it's one of those weird roller coasters with the banana roll, as you call it. It's kind of a weird element, and also they have both launches and chain lifts. But I guess for American viewers, you could just pop onto TMNT Shell Racer, although that might be a hard crack to get because of how overpriced the amusement park is. It's actually ridiculous. I think it's like something like $70 to get into that mall amusement park. It's just ridiculously expensive.
Wow.
Yeah, it's literally an American nightmare. That's what I call it, because of how expensive everything is.
Well, that's part of traveling somewhere, right? Everything is always expensive.
Yeah, but I mean, when you're paying that much, even as a local, I just don't think it's like worth it. It's not like that is a world-class amusement park, or even think about it, because like I think some Disney parks only charge around $100-something, but this small little amusement park is charging like $70. That's like crazy, like $70+
Nah.
But if you don't like roller coasters, there are also scary rides, like plenty of flat rides like Panic Clock or Sky Roller, or even like the Red Drop Tower. If you're into horror stuff, there's more for you. There's this crazy walkthrough called Haunted Hospital, which I think is an upcharge attraction, so you would have to pay a bit more to get the experience. But it is one of the world's, I think it's one of the world's longest scare maze, which is terrifying. I would never get into that. Are you a haunts person or not, or you rather not miss out on that one?
Yeah, I'd rather miss out on that.
Yeah, especially when it comes to Japanese type of horror, is not my thing. Especially when the theme is about abandoned hospital where they using human as experiment subjects and subject them to torture. I just don't think it just kind of scares me as a scare attraction. I just never been a big fan of those sort of haunted house walkthroughs.
Yeah. Right, let's move on to Thomas Land, shall we?
Yeah, that's more family friendly. Yeah, let's get to the family friendly stuff. But with regards to Thomas Land, there is some comparison to the other Thomas Land around the globe. So for you guys that don't know about Thomas Land, and in Drayton Manor in England, they have another Thomas Land too, which I think is the only Thomas Land in Europe. So that is, for you guys that live in England, you definitely have a Thomas Land nearby, but it would be quite similar, I would imagine, in terms of attractions, because they also have, both of them also have the same, like, obviously the manufacturer is different, but they both have a troublesome truck themed roller coaster.
Good memories back in childhood.
Did you manage to get on that one, or is it a bit of were you still too short to get on that crat?
I think I might have got on that one, but there's also an indoor ride. Well, that's not a roller coaster, definitely. So that will bring you into some of the classic scenes in those old Thomas episodes. If anybody knows, so that includes the yard, Timoth Shed, Nafford Station, Quarry. If any of you guys remember those names.
Oh yeah, for sure, for sure. Isn't it like most of the scenes from like the? Is it more based on the animation or is it more based on the movies? Would you say the Dark Ride?
Mostly based on the very first episodes or series, because like even 12 years ago, yes, those animated episodes are not out yet back at the time.
Oh wow! So would you say they are more like the based on really old episodes with the models and stuff like that?
Yeah, all those settings are based on those early series in, I think, in the 90s. Nostalgic.
I know you're a big Thomas fan. That's why I asked you so much. I certainly don't remember much from like when I was really young, but certainly I like the memes, like the Thomas memes. That's for sure.
Well, definitely, you will know the fat controller. You have caused confusion and delay.
Oh yeah, good memories. Yeah, for sure. And also, I think they have a mini loft room, so they have one of those small boat rides, which is really cute. But I feel like they look really kind of like not designed for adults. I don't know if adults could ride it or not because it looks like if adults sit into those loft rooms, then the ship, like the boat loft thing, might actually sink.
Yeah, actually, I have been on that one, and for sure that is designed for children. But I was like around 9 years old at the time, and I still remember that each child, or maybe two children, will share one boat, and one at the front and one at the back. So it means one person per row. And as a child of 9 years old at a time, I'll basically almost occupy the whole seat. So that's definitely for children.
Oh wow, that's very cramped. But do you see any sort of adult trying to get in with the kids? Not really.
Maybe teenagers, but not really adults.
Oh right. I just thought it's just funny because it's a bit like getting on a kiddie coaster as a as an adult and then just like getting in and then just get told. It would just be funny to get in the line and with like the operating saying, "No, you it's not for you. You get out of here." It's just funny like when you get in line to try to get a kiddie credit and then obviously that's not a credit, but I think the experience is similar, like getting in line for that loft room and then get told by the operator say, "Oh no, you're too heavy for this ride." That's kind of funny, I think.
Yeah. Well, remember, I was almost stung by a bee on that ride
Oh no.
because there were flowers around. Well, the scenery looks pretty with those flowers, but what bees? Bzzz.
Yeah, they have those huge ass bees. I don't know why. It's just kind of like they kind of like mess around and it's quite scary. Like I've been to Uenosuke Zoo, so a zoo in central Tokyo, and I've seen that bee, and to that day, it still kind of haunts me.
Yeah, not good memory. Definitely with bees, but honey's good.
Oh yeah, for sure, tasty, tasty. We love our food here.
And then back to Thomas Land, there is also a very very big souvenirs shop. So not just souvenirs, but actually those either wooden models or plastic models, or even to those more integrated class, those very detailed metal models. But I would say most children will go for the either wooden or plastic ones.
Oh yeah, I used to have those wooden ones, and they were fun to play around.
Yeah, and then
I definitely think they are higher quality than the plastic ones, but sadly I don't think I have them anymore because of how much junk I have at my home. I guess not junk, but I mean, space is quite limited at home, so we have to choose what to throw out. So I don't think that is like part of my toy box anymore.
Yeah, the wooden ones are definitely not good in terms of recreating the actual shape of the train. But yeah, those are for kids, and then for maybe teenagers, they will go for the plastic ones with blue rails. Those blue the plastic tracks.
Oh yeah, the
Yeah, yeah,
player
yeah.
rounds.
And those are slightly better
Yeah,
and
yeah.
because they're made of plastic, so you can make a long train out of that instead of wooden ones. And they're motorized, so you can set them around. And then into adulthood, maybe some of the real Thomas fans, they will go for those very detailed metal rail models. Well, they are also made of plastic, but some parts were made with metal, and those are actually heavily expensive.
Well, those are hell of expensive.
Yeah,
Like I just can't imagine people investing so much in making train models. But anyways, that's a good tangent to go around. But also, I know outside the park they have this wonderful area called My French is quite bad, so pardon me. But I think it's called Feel the Gaspert et Lisa. La La ville, La ville de Gaspet et Lisa. Can you correct me on that?
Le Ville de Casper and Lisa, well, basically the same, just pretending to be French.
So that part is actually, I think, outside the park, but there's this area, French themed area around the famous French comics character Gaspard et Lisa, and the area is called La Ville de Gaspard et Lisa. I don't know if I butchered that name.
Yeah, definitely, that looked great.
Oh, that's close enough then. But I am not gonna try it again because I don't want to butcher it again. But that area seems really well themed, even outside the park. Although the inside of the park is not the same, could not be said about the inside of the park. But they even have this mini Eiffel Tower around it. So I think that would be a really good point to visit, maybe for some lunch or maybe or just for some pictures for the replica Eiffel Tower, which they have. But in terms of accommodation, do you have clear sort of recommendations for people that are planning to visit the park?
Well, I would say definitely stick around in those sort of area, outside of central Tokyo. So sort of somewhere in between the straight line of Shinjuku, central Tokyo, and Fuji Highland Park. There's somewhere over there, and I think you might get a better price of hotel rooms, while you can have a glance of how a local Japanese society or little town looks like. That is the place where you might see more about Japanese people's daily life instead of staying in Central and see those luxurious branded shops and stuff which you see anywhere around the world, to be honest.
For sure. I mean, it is definitely worth to travel around there and find better sort of get close to Fujiyama or even live close to one of those lakes that quite well known for the sceneries, and it's probably even worth just to hang around in that sort of area rather than going straight back to Tokyo, I think.
Yeah, definitely.
And especially, I would definitely recommend going to Hakone because I know, which is quite nearby, and I know because it's quite they have a beautiful lake there, and also they have one of those hot spring onsen water parks over there, which is pretty cool.
Well. For initial D fans, the famous pass over there with the FC and R32 and a Z33 racing down the Hakone Pass, that is heaven.
For sure. For sure. I mean, even non-car fans would definitely enjoy the view there. Like looking at onto driving past passes and driving by the lakeside is just amazing, isn't it?
Yeah, that has to be spectacular. spectacular.
Yeah, for sure. And don't forget, if you have time, definitely it's worth to book a trip to go hike Fuji-san itself, because it's definitely worth a trip if you're a hiker.
Yeah, but make sure that you go in the summer, because I think during winter the mountains actually close because of quite severe winter conditions and snow and stuff.
Yeah, I could definitely imagine. But even many Japanese see that mountain as this spiritual importance. So for this week, I think that's it from us, and hope you guys enjoyed this quiz and this episode, which we tried something a bit different, and I would like to see if you guys actually like this kind of content. So be sure to drop us a DM or something. As you know the drill, just check out our description for our socials, and have a good day. Do you have anything to add?
Yeah, well, again, my account's also linked in description. Make sure to check it out. And I will add English content wherever I feel like it's suitable instead of just talking about my local Hong Kong content. And as you know, guys, I'm a transport fan, so just come and DM me with anything. I'll be happy to reply.
Oh yeah, for sure. And also, just for you guys that are still listening on YouTube, we are actually available on other podcasting apps too. So you can find us on Spotify and all other good podcast apps. So check that out. And lastly, I would just like to say that be safe, everyone. And I know many of you would be glad to know in the UK that we are moving out of lockdown, like moving out of most of our restrictions on 12th of April. So definitely looking forward to that, and hopefully we'll be able to make it to some theme parks in May or maybe in June.
Yeah, so that's it for today, and I'll see you next time.
Bye bye.